Hello, welcome to this week's episode. And I want to be looking at getting all the track all weathered in this week and some of the road, bit of weathering on that. I've added some extra detail now with buffer stops and things like that, so I can sort of get a little bit of the weathering on there. And I'm going to be using this ammo, and this is the Railway Fast Method paint set. I forgot what it was called then. But it's quick and easy. You just follow the instructions on the back, tells you which colours to use, and you just need an airbrush to put it on and a compressor. So let me get it started, and we can see how the results. Right, and the first colour is 34, and you just need to make sure it is really well mixed. I always tend to put a bit of water in there as well for the airbrush. What I like to do is just make sure, I just try the egg on first, make sure I've got a nice flow coming out, and it's really I'm going to go over the rest of the layout in this colour and then get the next colour on. Right, that's all the layout done, and you can see that just giving it a quick brush over, airbrush over I should say. I've done a little bit on the bushes and the texture around there, muddied some of those puddles up. I'm going to put a bit more resin onto those, trying to get them to look a bit more real. There's a little bit weathering on all the roads that I've done as well with that first batch, so I'm going to try get the next one on. So the next colour is 73. Okay, so this is earth colour. This is really just on the edge of the ballast, just to get that weathered look on the ballast more than anything. Right, again, let me get the rest of this layout done and we'll come back. And next I've got 72, so that is dust. Give that a really good shake. And this again is just really spread on the outside where your ballast is. This is quite a light. So I'm not going to go too heavy on this. And again, I'll just get the rest of the layout done. And the next one is 42 for the rails and 46 for the middle of the track there. And I tend not to use the black. I do that by hand a lot of the time, but I'll give that a go. And 42 is Old Rust. And 46 is the matte black to go on the inside. But I do tend to find that this can be a bit too strong, so I do water it down quite a bit, this one. But I do like to use sort of a Dapol track oil, and that seems to work really well, especially when you like round your fuel depot and stuff. You just sort of water it down a little bit on your brush and brush it on. And this Old Rust can be quite a strong colour, so I want to be very lighter on this, so I'm going to try and just get it on the rails itself. Bit more control on the brush. To clean that out a little bit there. There we go. Just trying to be too gentle, I think. And this sort of side in here is quite a more disused, so I'm going to give that a bit more rust than the rest of the layout. But let me carry on and get the rest of the layout. So with the black, I do tend to find, I don't always airbrush it on, but you've got to be so careful. You don't want it all over the place. Just needs to be in the centre of the track, or on the sweepers itself. And I might just do a little bit as gently as I can. Right, I'm going to carry on with the rest of the layout. Round the depot side, I've just done a nice light piece to give the sort of impression of all the dirty oil that's formed on the concrete. And especially where the fuel depot is, I'll be sort of giving that a really good so that should all blend in nice. I've decided to go for a lot stronger there. Obviously that's going to dry yet, but engines will be parked up here, so I thought that would probably look quite good. I've sprayed a little bit around the base of the shed as well, just where dirt would get collected and things like that. Oh, let me just turn that off and hopefully you heard me then. But yeah, I was just making sure that where the engines has been standing here, it's quite dirty, a little bit around the bottom of the engine shed and a little bit around the hoist and things like that. So I think that should do it really. Next job, clean all the track. So I've got some electrical contact again. Right, I'm going to leave this to dry now. But I think that's looking okay. Quite nice and dirty. And it's should be quite a dirty as it's industrial and sort of a traction maintenance depot side. Sort of thing. Where the depot is, it's pretty filthy from all the diesel spills and all the oil. So I think once it's all dried a little bit, it'll be much better. On the viaduct track, I've sort of given that a good weathering as well, and on the fence at the back, I gave that quite a strong sort of look of rust at the bottom. Some of the glue's still wet, actually, you can still see it there. But yeah, I just tried to spray all around the real bottom of the fence to give it more of a sort of a rusty looking fence. So, but yeah, let me get this dry and then I can do the next part of what I want to do on the layout. Okay, now that's dry, I can give it a clean. It does sort of ruin some of it, a little bit of the look, but you've got to have clean track. Keeping the points clean is a real good job to do. But I'm going to I'll need to clean inside the point blades there as well. But yeah, let me get all this track clean, and then I want to do a little bit of testing. But before I really get into that, you know, I want to get some backdrops on. Ooh, just knocked one of my engineers flying. That's the problem with putting detailing on and then trying to clean all the track afterwards. I will put him back on. He's there to work on my class 25. Looks like my toolbox is loose as well, so I'll have to fix them back on. And just before I do get on with the next job, I've just cleaned all the track. Trying to make sure right, now that spraying's all out of the way, I want to look at backdrops. I didn't want to put these on before. So what I have bought is overcast sky, and I've got two different ones. That one's A and that one's B. And I was hoping they would all join together to form one massive sky. So, which it looks like it should do. That should match up onto there. So let's have a go at getting these on. It should be quite easy on this because everything's in, well, it's got 6 sections, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So I've only clipped this already. Where's that? The edge of the table there. Now these are actually quite heavy compared to what I normally used to build. So first one, I can just easily do this side and then carry on. Yeah, to make the removal of the backdrops nice and easy, they're just screwed on, so it can be easily dismantled for transportation if it's too high to fit in a car or something like that. Although you lose the protection of the backdrop then. Right, let's have a look at this backdrop. I wonder what that was falling out then. Anything printed on that? Very pale. I am going to leave the top edge on, and there is a reason for that, is because, no, actually I might get away with it. Canal comes here, I've made a line there, so I need to make sure I cover that in the sky. So first of all, do I want to use that one? It's awfully pale. What is A and B to this? Need to know which one joins on to which section. Now that definitely does not join onto there. Now that one definitely joins onto there. So, don't know which is up and down. I think it really matters too much, but let's have a quick look at the tube. I'm not absolutely sure. So I think that one is that way, how I've got it, that way round. Maybe. No. So that one is the first piece that I needed. That'll go on to this one. The worrying bit I've got is, will it match onto the next one? So that's the first piece. So that's the one that I need for that board there. But that looks a bit too light to marry up onto the other one. So I'm going to check the other one out and just check which one lines up on there. So looking at that, it should follow on to this. So that one was my first one, and it goes that way round. Yep. That's the second one. It goes that way round, so I just need to check the end of this. To the first one of this. Which I'm hoping that doesn't match that at all. Oh, backdrops everywhere. Let's maybe I've got them upside down there. Now, that one. Looks like it probably matches up with that. Yeah, I think that one matches up with that one. So that one's the third. And I don't think I'll need the fourth one. So that's the best looking sky, the fourth one. So I could have started with the fourth and worked the other way around, I suppose. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to just pop that one away because I'm not going to use that one at all for the moment. That could be useful for another layout. It still gives me 5 foot, so that would work quite well on a just a small sort of shelf layout. So that one is my third. I'm just going to pop these to one side, and I'm going to then get the piece cut. Right, to make this a bit easier for myself, I'm going to spin this around and then drop that around, so, because otherwise I just can't see what I'm doing. So I'm going to chop the white edge off this end. Might not be as straight as I could have been, but so if I I've got quite a good piece at the top there. Okay, that's should be fine. That. Let's get some glue on there. And the glue that I've got is View Glue vaccine. I did buy some more because I'd only probably got just enough in there to do it, but I don't want to run out halfway through. That is a really painful when you do that. Dried up bits of glue there. And it's give it quite a thinnish coat. I've gone overboard in the past when I've been doing this. So just moves out. Yeah. So what I have done in the past is just put way too much on. So I'm going to try and put the minimal, even though I know I'm going to be putting more than I need, but I'm just going to keep brushing it on until I feel that it's soaked into the board a little bit. So let me get all this applied and then we can come back. Right, that's a good coat of glue all over the whole lot. might be a little bit, but it does soak into this board quite quick because it's quite a porous board really. So I'm going to get this first piece on. And hopefully not too much mess. I should have washed my hands before I started. I'm going to have to stand up, I think. Yeah, I need to get my hands really clean. I've got glue on them. Right, let's start that again. So I'm going to trim that edge off now. Now I don't know if I'm straight. Still got a bit of a glue mark on the edge there. Oops. Wrinkled up. I think what I need to do is just let this one piece dry. It doesn't seem to be going on as well as I was hoping it would this time. Just getting this crease in the middle here. No matter how much I try and spread it out. Yeah. Normally they do dry out, so I've not normally had any major problems with wrinkles with this glue, but I'm not totally happy with that. It is one of my worst things and my a real nemesis, the backboard and the backdrops. So I'm just going to leave that to dry a little bit before I trim it, and then I can get the next board done. Right, I left all these overnight. This is the first one that I did, and that actually looks quite good. There's no real creases in that or anything like that. Slight bit on that edge that might need to tidy up. The second one I did, I made a right mess because it didn't quite fit, and I had to cut a piece in and I got glue everywhere. And there seem to be a few creases on the next piece, but overall I think they look okay. Still got glue marks on, and but they now need just trimming up and then refitting back onto the layout to see how they look. But I sort of left these all overnight. This is like the morning after. So I'm going to get these nicely trimmed up. I don't know whether to just fold over the top and glue them down or just trim them at the... So I might just fold them over. It gives it a little bit more strength on those top corners, stop them doing this sort of peeling up. So as you can see, they might do a little bit like that. And for this top edge, so I did get a couple of glue marks on this. This is the last, so I started at the last, working my way backwards again. And I'm thinking, folding that over, so, and when you look at the layout, you'll see an edge of sky over the top of the board. So it would look, so I think that would work. So I don't know whether to just glue that down or just use a bit double-sided. So I can use a bit of double-sided initially. I think this would be fine. I used to use double-sided to stick these backdrops on before, these back scenes. I found if you weren't quick enough, or like this one, the double side's not sticking to the board that well. It sticks to the paper but not the board sometimes. It's quite porous material, MDF. And you can see just there, that's the issue that you get with double-sided. Once you've committed, you're not going to get those creases back out. Now these creases do seem to have come out of this board reasonable. Had a slight mishap on the edge there. I need to tidy that edge up a little bit, but and you can see where the paper was trying to force its way up, it's still, so I'm going to need to put a bit of extra glue on these edges. And just weigh them down and leave them for a little while. But the lighter the colour, any mistakes you make with the glue marks really do show. So I'm going to have to try and hide these under bushes and things like that. So I'm going to just get that weighed, get something to weigh that down. Leave that. This last board that I did, I got quite a few glue marks over this. And I'm not, when I actually looked at it on the layout, it didn't look that good, which I'll just show you that now. I'm hoping that, I know I'm not screwed this time, just holding it on, but you can see all these marks, and I can put a few trees in front and things like that, but I don't think it's going to work. So what I do have, let me just go and fetch it. This is some left over from a previous one that I was working on, and this was from this is like the line side fencing, and this has got all the bushes built on there. So let me just show you it. Sorry about that, I just dropped the tube on the floor there. So this is how that one looks. So I would sort of be hopefully not getting in too much of the way of the camera. It would then match up with the sky, and hopefully you can see that that will match up better. So I'm going to use that for this side, and then it'll cover all that marks up. This is a self-adhesive one as well, so it'll just stick straight over the top of that paper. Right, that's that backdrop on, and did get a crease in there, but that's okay. That actually looks a lot better, sort of matches the sort of foliage in the foreground that I've been doing. So I've got a plan to fix the backdrop that I messed up just about there, with some factory units going across. So get those on probably next week once I've ordered those. But yeah, it needed to have that, just finish that end, you know, and the sky sort of blends in reasonably well actually. It's not too different. So I know this was supposed to be an overcast sky, but sort of blended in reasonably well. So I'm happy with that. Right, get on with the next job. Right, that's about the layout finished for as much as I can for this week. So I've got all the lines up and running. The shuttle is up and running. I've, although my Lima DMU seems a little bit hit and miss, I think it needs a bit of a run in, but it is running. I got a comment from the block signalling people, and they were saying turn the current up a little bit more. So I've done that, and it seems to work all right on most locos now. You know, I've not really had any. Well, I've only tested a few, but that one's probably the worst loco to run on it. But I'll give you a quick tour around the layout, and so you can see how the weathering went. Some of the puddles not quite perfect yet, but some of them are better than others. Yeah. So, but my DMU seems to have got stuck again. So I think I'm going to just swap that loco and then stick something else in its place for the moment. Well, I've just spent a little bit of time trying to get something else to run on the DCC shuttle, and I've actually had to give up on it. It just will not run how I want it to run, or it runs for too long or too short. There's not enough power to it, and it won't restart. So it's not the loco, because I know the loco runs perfectly. It's just the settings on there. It's not very user friendly. So I'm going to give up with it tonight. Really got it working nice on the DMU, and then my DMU seems to have stopped running. So I need to have a really good look at that DMU. But anyway, let's have a look around the layout. So you can see the weathering that I've been working on. And that's come out actually quite nice, I think. And quite a bit more, little bit more detail around the traction maintenance depot, just as the class 20 goes by. While that's going by, I'll come on to these puddles. A little bit of a disaster initially, but I don't think that's too bad now. They sort of came out a little bit better. It's all nice and solid. But I've used weathering spray on there. Then I've put some another sort of water resin over the top. Try and give it a bit more water look. Hasn't worked on all of the spots where I wanted it on the layout. So you can see that one's still a little bit milky, not quite perfectly dried yet, and things like that, but not looking that bad. With these buildings, when I got all the lights on, you could see all the wires behind it. So I've actually frosted all the glass by spraying it with just an acrylic spray, which is the matte lacquer that I use for protecting all the card, and it's gone on and sort of frosted, so you can't actually see through any of the glazing. And the same on this building, so it's sort of any sort of wiring or hiding the insides of the building, it has really worked. So I can show you on this one, because I don't think I've fully done that one yet, so let me show you now. And you can probably see through those ones at the top there, they look terrible. So you don't need to spray much, go mad or anything like that, but it just frosts them over. Can't see anything through them, and just sort of hides any of the wires or empty building. And I thought that looked actually quite useful and quite good. I did tidy up the fuel depot, and that's looking a lot better now. And you can see I've got plenty of space going along there. I've weathered all the viaduct as well, put some fencing in. I've got to get the station piece in there. I have got a few more wrinkles that sort of appeared on this back seam that I need to try and iron out, but that doesn't look too bad with that back seam with the foliage in the background. Nice to see a bit of a few locos running around the layout. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this week's video, and I wish you a very good evening, a very good rest of the day, and hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.